Ever notice how the sharpest minds in any room aren't always the ones talking the most? They're the ones who know exactly what to say when it matters. But here's the thing. Most people won't tell you. Being good with words isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, brick by brick, word by word, like any other skill worth having. I've seen men freeze up in moments that could change their lives. A job interview, a first date, standing up for themselves when someone's crossing a line. And it's not because they're weak or stupid, it's because their brain hasn't practiced finding the right words under pressure. So your mind is like a muscle. You don't train it, it fails you when you need it most. That silence you feel. The moment when everyone's looking at you and your tongue's tied in knots. That's not permanent. That's just rust. And there's a simple game. Takes 5 minutes. That starts scraping that rust off. This isn't about becoming some smooth-talking con artist. This is about becoming the version of yourself who doesn't let fear steal your voice. Because in this world, the people who can speak clearly, think clearly, they're the ones who take control of their own story. So let me tell you about this game. And more importantly, let me tell you why it works when everything else you've tried hasn't. It's called the association game. And before you roll your eyes thinking this is some childish nonsense, understand this. The most powerful negotiators, the best lawyers, the people who command rooms without raising their voices, they all have one thing in common. Their brains move fast. Not because they're geniuses, but because they've trained their minds to make connections instantly. That's what this game does. It rewires the way your brain finds words when you're under pressure. Here's how it works. And I want you to really pay attention, because the simplicity is what makes it deadly effective. You start with one word, any word. Let's say coffee. Now, within 3 seconds, you say the first word that comes to your mind when you think of coffee. Maybe it's morning. Then you take that word, morning, and within 3 seconds you say what comes next. Maybe routine. Then routine becomes discipline. Discipline becomes strength. Strength becomes character. You see where this is going? You're building a chain, link by link, and your brain is learning to move without hesitation, without that pause that kills conversations and makes you look uncertain. Now, most people, when they first try this, they panic. They freeze up, even in a simple game with no stakes, no audience, just themselves. And that right there tells you everything you need to know about why you struggle with words in real situations. Your brain hasn't been taught to trust itself. It's been taught to second guess, to overthink, to wait for the perfect thing to say. But here's what I learned a long time ago. In rooms where one wrong word could get you killed, there is no perfect thing to say. There's only the next thing to say. And the people who win, they're the ones who can find that next thing faster than everyone else. When you play this game every single day, something interesting starts happening in your mind. At first you're slow. You're picking obvious connections. Coffee to morning, morning to sunrise, sunrise to dawn, basic stuff. But give it a week, and your brain starts making connections you didn't know existed. Coffee doesn't just mean morning anymore. It means conversation. It means deals made across tables. It means the smell of your grandmother's kitchen. Your mind becomes more flexible, more creative, and most importantly, more confident. Because confidence with words doesn't come from having a big vocabulary or reading fancy books. It comes from trusting that your brain will deliver something, anything, when you open your mouth. I've watched people transform using this simple practice, and it's not magic, it's just consistency meeting psychology. There's a phenomenon researchers call cognitive fluency. That's a fancy way of saying your brain gets better at things it does repeatedly. Every time you force yourself to make a word association in 3 seconds, you're teaching your brain that hesitation is not an option. You're building neural pathways that connect ideas faster. And those pathways, they don't just work in the game. They work when your boss puts you on the spot in a meeting. They work when you're trying to comfort someone who's hurting, and you don't know what to say. They work when you're standing at a podium, or sitting across from someone you're trying to impress. But here's where most people get it wrong. And I need you to understand this because it's the difference between this working as being another waste of your time. This game isn't about being clever. It's not about impressing yourself with how smart your associations are. It's about speed and trust. Speed in responding, trust in your instincts. The moment you start judging whether your word choice is good enough, you've already lost. You've let that same fear creep back in, the fear that keeps you silent in real conversations. So when you play this game, you make a rule: whatever word comes first, that's the word you say. No editing, no second guessing, just pure, unfiltered response. Now, let's talk about why silence scares us in the first place. Because understanding the enemy is half the battle. When there's a pause in conversation, and everyone's looking at you, your body reads that as a threat. Your amygdala, that primitive part of your brain that kept your ancestors alive when tigers were hunting them, it lights up. Your heart rate increases. Your palms sweat, your mind goes blank, and in that moment, you're not thinking about what to say. You're thinking about the fact that you don't know what to say. You're stuck in a loop of anxiety about the anxiety itself. It's a trap, and most people live their whole lives in it. The association game breaks that loop because it makes rapid response a habit. You're literally conditioning your nervous system to stay calm when it needs to produce words quickly. Every day you practice this, you're sending a message to your brain. We don't freeze anymore. We respond, we move forward. And after weeks of this, something remarkable happens. That panic you used to feel when someone asked you a question, it starts to fade. Not because you've become some brilliant speaker overnight, but because your brain has learned through repetition that it can find words, even under pressure, even when it's not perfect. Here's how I want you to practice this game. And this is important, because structure matters. Every morning, before you do anything else, before you check your phone, or drink your coffee, or start your day, you sit down and you play this game for 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. You set a timer, you pick a starting word, and you go, out loud, if you're alone, in your head if you're not, but you go, and you don't stop until that timer goes off. Some days the words will flow like water, other days you'll struggle, and stumble, and want to quit. Those hard days, those are the days that matter most. Those are the days you're actually building something. After you've done your 5 minutes in the morning, I want you to start looking for moments throughout your day to practice this skill in real time. Someone says something to you, anything, and in your mind you take a word from what they said, and you build a quick chain. They mention the weather, and in your head you go, weather, unpredictable, life, choices, consequences. Takes 2 seconds, keeps your mind sharp, and slowly but surely, you'll notice that when it's your turn to speak, the words come easier. The gaps get shorter, the confidence gets stronger. And let's address something else while we're here. Because I know some of you are thinking this seems too simple to work. You've read books about communication, watched videos about charisma, maybe even taken courses on public speaking, and you're still struggling. That's because most of that advice attacks the problem from the wrong angle. It tries to teach you what to say, when the real issue is that your brain locks up before you can say anything at all. This game doesn't teach you what to say. It teaches your brain how to keep moving, how to stay loose, how to trust itself. And once you have that foundation, all that other advice you've collected actually becomes useful. Think about athletes for a second. The best ones, they don't think during the game. They've trained so much that their bodies just respond. A ball comes at them. They react. No hesitation. No committee meeting in their head about the best way to catch it. They just move. That's what we're building here with words. We're getting your brain to the point where conversation becomes reactive instead of calculated. Where you stop being the person who thinks of the perfect thing to say 3 hours after the conversation ended, and you become the person who can hold their own in real time. I'll tell you what I've seen happen to people who commit to this for 30 days. They start small. They play the game alone. They stumble through it. But by week 2, they're faster. By week 3, they're making connections that surprise them. And by week 4, they're having actual conversations where they don't freeze up like they used to. They're not perfect speakers. Nobody is. But they're present. They're engaged. They're not drowning in their own anxiety anymore. And that changes everything. Because life doesn't wait for you to find the perfect words. Life happens in real time. And you either show up or you don't. So here's what I'm asking you to do. Not tomorrow. Not when you feel ready. Right now, after you finish watching this, you're going to play this game for 5 minutes. Pick a word, any word, and start building that chain. Do it every single day for the next month. And then you tell me if anything's changed. You tell me if those silences still feel as suffocating. You tell me if your mind still goes blank when pressure hits. I already know the answer, but you need to prove it to yourself. Because at the end of the day, nobody's coming to save you from your own silence. You have to build the skills that set you free.